I want to give dawah, but I'm not good enough. Imagine you're in your city, you come outside your house, it's like a normal day, and then suddenly you hear screams. You look down your road and you see a young woman running like this past, like you're standing outside your house and you just view a woman running. And as she's running, you can see she's on fire. There's a hose on the floor that's pumping out water. What would you
Yes.
do in that situation? I know you, and I know decent human beings who would pick up the hose and they would put out the fire for that person. You would not think about, how do I feel? How do I have self-esteem? You don't think about none of that. You just think, this person needs my help. I'm going to help them. The problem is that when we look at everyday human beings walking past us, we don't see them on fire. What we need to do is we need to bring the reality of the akhirah to the dunya. And as soon as you start bringing the reality of the akhirah to the dunya, it actually will change your performance in the dunya. So this whole fire thing, we need to use this as a way to get over our own emotional hang-ups about ourselves, which are stopping us from doing the things we want to do. You don't actually need to be good enough, or you don't have to be reliable or self-esteem, all this, to actually go out and give dawah. Then the question really is, what's the action you're going to take? And anytime you now think about that thought of, I'm not good enough yet, that's when you go back to, okay, well, would I help someone or I wouldn't? Just question, who are you? Like, identity-wise, am I that person who would pour water on that person, or am I not? Oh, that's it, right? Because if I can put water over them, and I know I really would put water over them if they were in front of me, then how can I say that someone who's going to go Jahannam forever, I'm not going to try and guide them? Like, I feel like I have the answer, I have the truth. And this is one of the things that Abdul Rahim used to say, a really great example. He's like imagine if you're in a maze and like everyone's going to be doomed and die in the maze, and you've got a way out for them. Would you not guide people out of the maze? Like, of course you would. When you look at the example of the Prophet ﷺ, the empathy he had was next level empathy, right? His level of empathy was far beyond any other human being. Because part of this is that he understood the reality of the akhirah. Like, we haven't been on a journey through the akhirah like the Prophet ﷺ did. Maybe if we went through that, our level of empathy would be like very high. It wouldn't be at his level, but maybe it will be a very high level, right? Because you actually see what's going to be the reality on the Day of Judgment. Once you start reading the Quran and you start to realize like what it's actually saying to you and what's going to happen, then you start like really questioning things like about everyone and everything. And so I'm saying you use this example to get yourself into action and to set that habit. So one or two things, I just want to give you some side advice. Yeah, I think one of the things I would think about dawah is that I think context is a very important thing. So a lot of the times I'll be like in professional settings, especially, I would think about, should I give dawah to this person? How should I give dawah, right? So for example, imagine that I am a salesperson for my company and I'm going to sell to someone and they're my potential client. That might be a situation where I'm like, I should not give dawah in this situation because I'm trying to win that client over. So for that one, I might be like, no, I'm not going to give direct dawah. I might give a hint or a comment. I'll give an example of a hint or a comment. There's times when I've gone to like a shop and I want to give dawah to the lady or the guy there. And I'm like, oh, where are you from? Like, you got an accent. Oh, I'm from Poland. I'm like, oh, wow. I got friends that are from Poland, but they became Muslim. Thanks, bye. I'm gone. That's it. that is my full dawah to that human being I probably will never see again in my life. Because all it has done is in her head. So he knows people like me, like Polish people. He knows Polish people. And he's saying that those Polish people became Muslim. So maybe that's enough for, I don't know. But at least I get some reward from it. Maybe she doesn't even think about what I said. Finished. So you can see the context of that giving dawah is very different to if I'm going to live next to my neighbor for 3 years now. So I'm saying that when you're going to make the decision dawah, part of it should be, is this the right context to give dawah? Should I give it long term? Should I do it short term? Meaning, like short term, you could just go hard, you could go fully. If I'm like on a dawah table and I know I'm probably not going to see this guy again, I could go very hard. I could say, you need to think about death, you need to do this, you need like that. But if I know I'm going to be living next to this person, probably at least for the next few weeks or months, maybe I will like, okay, maybe like build that rapport and relationship and then slowly start with dawah. Part of the technique is actually furthering a discussion that they've brought rather than you starting it. So what I would do, if someone says to me this statement, I would basically take what they said and I would use that as an intro to where I want to go. Okay. What I'm saying is that you just open this discussion. You didn't mention words that might trigger, like religion, like Islam, like Muslim. You didn't mention any of that stuff. Because it could be you say, what do you think of religion? And associate so much pain to religion. If you go with what she said and you acknowledge what she said and you discuss that and you are asking questions, literally, you're not even giving dawah. You're just asking her loads of questions. And by that, it's starting to question our own things and our own thoughts and our own beliefs.
Yes.
Right? And I'm saying that methodology basically is with anything and anyone. So imagine now I tell you about George, who he stopped believing in God when he was 15. Now, how do we say that's good? How do we acknowledge him for that? Because this could be the winning and the losing of the whole conversation. What I want to teach you is I want you to realize that the answer is actually very obvious and it's right in front of you. I gave this example. It's very hard because it's like a riddle now, because he just said he stopped believing. He's just giving me something very negative. How possibly can I acknowledge or do that? So what I would say to him is I would be like, George, wow, I'm actually really honored that you shared that with me, because, you know, belief in God is a very personal thing. So the fact that you're telling me about this is amazing. I feel honored that you trust me to tell me about this. What this is about is about seeing. Because what I was saying to you is, if I'm seeing him as a human being rather than a dawah target, I'm going to feel differently about him. So now when you ask him more questions, is he going to feel like talking more? Is he going to feel like talking less? He's going to start telling you stuff. And that's why I'm trying to explain the thinking, because it's like a maths problem. You think that I'm coming up with this because I have all this experience. Of course, that's helping me. Of course, but if you sat down with my methodology and planned a conversation, you would actually perform much better than if you didn't, without my help. Be present with them as a human being. Take a deep interest. Have empathy. You still have a goal in mind. Part of that is understanding them, understanding what makes them tick, understanding like what influences them, and then trying to give them stuff that's like in that realm of context and in that paradigm. Because once you start to understand their paradigm, then you can start to shift it.